What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for finding the channel. My name's RJ, also known as Liquid Music Entertainment. We're in the brand new studio, and we get to show you off all the different kind of camera angles that we've got, and we're trying out this one, so I hope you like it. Every single month, we sit down with a brand new co-host of the month, and then we film it over on twitch.tv/liquidmusicent, and then we release it the next month. So last month, which is August? Yeah, September. Yeah, August of September. August for September's video on the 17th. We got to sit down with Anikailani. We started talking to Annie about life as a fae, makeup artist, and Annie's new adventure called Culture of Empowerment. You're in the right place, and I can't wait for y'all to sit down with this video. It's super great. Every single month, like I said, we sit down with some great hosts. We sat down with Arrow Garfield, talked about a decade of streaming. We talked to Coco Joe Bro about Pokemon, and so many other great people we sat down with. DJ Zirk, Ninja Rooster, and Matt Harley. All the videos are right here live, right here on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out because it's super freaking fantastic, and they turned out very, very well. This one, for some reason, we had a little bit of audio issues, but we post edited it and made sure that the person speaking looked like they were speaking. So for some reason, couldn't figure out why. Then toward the end of it, it just fixed itself. So I'm not sure what's going on. So definitely, you found a really great one, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did sitting down, because when Annie was talking, I was sitting there just like in awe, just wondering, oh, this is awesome, because there's so much great information here, and you definitely want to check this out. I learned so much, and I hope you all do too. So stick around. We're going to jump in 30 seconds into right before the live video started. So hope you enjoy it. You're sitting in the right place, and I hope you like this new look, because this is probably one of the camera angles we're gonna go with. So if you have some feedback, go check out the description below. Find Annie's channel and all the stuff that we talk about in the description, because there's a lot of information here and a lot of stuff you want to check out. So let's go to the video, and we'll see you on the other side. Thank you so much, and have a good one. Peace. Gamers, music lovers, sports users all around the galaxy, and Padawans. If you're 18 years of age, you're welcome here. But if you're not, you gotta go. You gotta go. Let's freaking go. Oh my goodness. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. It's gonna be a fucking great freaking night. Holy shit. What? I don't even know what just happened there. I'm not gonna lie. Bruce 420, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Miss Night Angel, Allie Rose Petal, everybody else, thank you so much for lurking and being here. I appreciate it. It's always a great night to have everybody here, and especially on nights like this when we get to have our co-host of the month join us. I'm super excited. Oh my god, there's so many times we do these interviews. I know the ads, we're a little late on the ads, but it's okay. Get rid of them all, and then we'll be done for the hour or something like that, give or take. If you are catching this live, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. We do a Q&A. We do a little bit of more questions at the end of a live stream. So if you're gonna be here live, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. We have a little bit special for you after the recording. We also recorded this for YouTube. So if you're catching this on YouTube right now, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. We record the month of the interview or co-host stream, and then we make sure everything's good. We upscale it. We put it on YouTube the month later. So if you're catching this on YouTube, this happened last month. We're a little bit behind. You're a month behind us, but you can join us on Discord. You can see when we're doing all these. We do these at least once a month. We have a lot more things in the works working on. I couldn't believe what the things that are in the works. We got a brand new studio. If you have not been here since we opened this up, this is all this kind of stuff is freaking awesome. Interactive monitors behind us so you can see everything, what's going on, all that kind of stuff. And oh my gosh, it's been such a fun ride this year. And with everybody here and everybody that's going on, we've invited so many people in for these co-hosts. If you want to check them out on the YouTube channel. If you're watching YouTube or you're live right now, don't forget to follow on the YouTube channel, because not only will this one show up next month in the month of September, but this month we have our interview from last month. We did a whole skinathon, which is Stream Raiders, all this stuff. If you don't know what Stream Raiders is, it's in the description below. You can see it. But this last month's interview during the skinathon will come out this month. So you'll be behind all this stuff, but it comes out on the 23rd of August. So if you want to check that out, that was Arrow Garfield 29. Sat down and bullshit with him for a good couple hours during the skinathon. It was fantastic. So if you haven't watched that one yet, go back and watch that one. That was freaking awesome. We had DJ Zirk. We talked about computers. We had Coco Jobro on for a while. We had Ninja Rooster on, and now we have another one tonight. So it's freaking fantastic. And Annie will be on here in just a moment. So I just want to do some housekeeping really quick here. So we normally don't stream on Saturdays, and y'all are here. We will adapt our streams and our nights that we stream just for y'all, just to make sure that we can bring the awesome people in to be able to do interviews like this. We have tonight, we have Anikailani, which we'll talk about in just a second. Tomorrow night we have some Fortnite. We're going to play with a bunch of people. Anybody that wants to join, we play with subs. We play with anybody that's part of the community. We have Rock Band. Thank you so much for that shout out. I appreciate it. Butterfly Garden Game is here as well. On the 22nd, we have Rocksmith and Rock Band. Like I said, the 23rd, Arrow Garfield's interview comes out. And then we have our monthly trivia. We do a trivia night every single month. Live on channel. We give away our partner skins for Stream Raiders, and we also kind of give away a few of mine as well. We base them on 80s and 90s cartoons, so it's a super freaking awesome community. Stream Raiders, CaptainTV, great freaking community. So y'all want to be a part of that, go ahead and drop some units. The battle's right there. We'll be showing it throughout the whole time we're doing the interview. We'll be running them. We won't be green screening them up or anything like that, but we will have all the alerts on. We'll have all the interactions on. So if you want to ask questions, try to hold off to the end. But if for some reason you have a question that's going on as we talk about something, feel free to ask them as we go, so we don't miss them, and it's part of the conversation. So we're here, we're interacting with you, and we love every single minute of it. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Alrighty, I think all our housekeeping is done. All our stuff is done. So let me get to this here. Our co-host for the month is not only a community member, but also a true friend that has so many great things in the works. Annie is a great streamer, fellow Storm Raiders. Oh, thank you so much. Look at that. We're getting a follow in the middle of our intro. I love it. Thank you so much. Gunshy Kitten, I appreciate it. All right, let me start over just for y'all that are here. Our co-host for the month is not only a community member, but also a true friend that has so many great things in the works. You all are going to interrupt the fuck out of me tonight, and I feel like it's going to be a great night. And I feel like it. It's going to get there, I promise you. Annie's a great streamer, fellow Stream Raiders captain, self-proclaimed Faye, visual effects makeup artist, and is working on a new culture of empowerment projects that we will learn about in just a little bit. And I can't wait to bring Annie on. And you know what? Let's just do it now. Annie, we're bringing you right now. It's coming. I see you. And you're right there. Let's fucking go.
What is up?
What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Thank you so much. Say hi to Annie, y'all. Annie's here. Let's go.
Hey guys,
Oh,
I'm making a
my
mess.
goodness.
I'm making a mess right now.
That's okay. We like messes.
Let's see.
And it's up to you guys. Y'all tell me if the sound is good, if the balance is level, if I'm too loud, if Annie's too loud, if I'm more overpowering Annie's overpowering me. Y'all tell me what's going on. I'll adjust on the fly as we go. What I hear sometimes is different than what you guys get, so I want to make sure that y'all get everything that's there. So before we get into all the reasons why we come in together tonight, tell me and chat what is going on about you and why we're interviewing you today, because we have a lot of stuff to talk about, and we might be here for a while, by the way.
Yeah, hi Butterfly, I see you in chat. God, man, it's been a lot. I've been I've been gone from streaming for a little bit. Really have just been working on a lot of stuff IRL. I've popped in and out of people's streams a couple of times and just kind of giving everybody a quick little lowdown of everything that's been going on. Had 2 movies that debuted that I did special effects makeup for. Been working on this culture of empowerment project. And really just all over the place with different events and stuff like that, and my Fae costumes. It's been a lot of fun, but I miss being a part of the community and actively like really getting to stream, which is part of the culture of empowerment sort of thing as well. So yeah, I guess that's kind of why I'm here, is just giving everybody an actual full-on rundown of like what it is I've been working on and why I've been gone.
What I guess with everything that's happening, I guess, like, before we get into the 3 topics, you see them up above here, so you'll know what we're all talking about in the future and stuff like that. So like, I really want to ask, like streaming wise, and like we always talk about mental health and all that kind of stuff. We'll talk about that as we go throughout everything, but like, what made you truly start streaming in the first place? I mean, like, it's not for everybody. It's not for one of those things where it's like, okay, yes, this is, everybody's streaming, so let's just stream. Like, what really inspired you to say, this is something that I want to try to do, this is something I want to do, something I have fun doing, all that kind of stuff?
Honestly, I had been watching streams for so long, and I love video games, and I had tried the YouTube thing many years ago, but I kind of got burnt out on that because of all that went into it with recording and editing and all that jazz. And whenever I finally got my gaming computer, I was like, I want to actually try like streaming. Why not? And so that's why I just kind of dove in and kind of went through the typical uncertainty about it. But as I started really just kind of like doing my own thing, being a part of communities and stuff like that, it really made me realize like, oh, this is actually something that I would love to do. I love being able to play games and shoot the shit with people. Mm-hmm. So as things have gone on, especially with doing a lot of stuff IRL and mental health and things like that.
Thank you so much for the gifted sub to Rosa. Welcome in, everybody. By the way, if I haven't said hi to y'all, thank you so much. If I see your name over here, I will wave and say hi as we're in the middle of a conversation. So I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. And yeah, interactive. So go ahead. Sorry. Interruptions all over the place. So
right. I knew it was going to happen. But yeah, ultimately, I love video games. I love being able to share my brand of positive chaos with people. And what better way to do it than being able to just stream and be able to do all of the things. Because that's what my ADHD is. It's just do all of the things because why not?
Yeah. By the way, you guys can interrupt. Y'all can interrupt all you want. This has always been an interactive channel. This has always been one of those things where you like to screw people up and stuff like that. That is completely fine. It's not this does not change when we do interviews like this, because we love having a good time. We love freaking screwing with people and all that kind of stuff. And y'all screw with me all the freaking time. So and we all go over to Annie's channel and screw with Annie all the time as well. So we're used to it by now. So we get it. See? Yeah, thanks. I guess my biggest thing is like when you have the breaks on like streaming, like when you take your time and you kind of focus on real life and things like that, what do you like miss the most while you're away from streaming? Is it more of the community base? Is it more of like the adrenaline of turning the camera on? Is it just to be able to just bullshit with people? Or like is there like anything that you truly miss, or all the above, I guess would be another thing too?
be the thing that I miss the most?
I know there's a lot of questions that are not going to pop up by the time we talked about this.
Honestly, I feel like it is really just being a part of the community, and that's why for me it's so tricky, because of all the stuff that I do IRL and have been doing. Not only have I not been able to stream myself, but I haven't been able to actively be really active with other people and other communities, because all y'all are a part of that culture for me in terms of like friends and being able to actually like hang out and chill.
Welcome, frog.
So definitely I would say just the community as a whole is what I miss whenever I don't get to do whenever I don't get to stream or be a part of streams.
Oh yeah, I totally understand that. I think even being live in Discord, even with everybody in multiple Discords, it's kind of hard to keep up with communities doing their own things, and people in your own Discord sometimes is kind of crazy when you're doing all this kind of stuff. So I totally agree with that. It's okay. Are we good now? Everybody good now? Are we good? All right, we're back. Thank you so much. You can't stream without issues. I'm going to tell you that much right now.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Learn the hard way.
Yeah, exactly. So since we have a lot to talk about, y'all, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Let me know if the music's too loud or not loud enough. I want it to be kind of quiet, but yet be able to hear it as well. So there's 3 topics that we want to talk about. We've been advertising this a little bit. Live as a Fae, makeup artist, and culture of empowerment. I just was curious, and this is, I don't know if you want to call myself a boomer, if you want to call myself like uneducated, or if you want to call myself as somebody that's evolving as a person, evolving as a streamer, all that kind of stuff. So can you explain to me and chat and everybody else out there what Fae is, what Fae is to you, and like and we'll talk about a lot of questions and stuff like that, but just kind of give us like the rundown of like all that stuff, and take your time with whatever that is, because we've had a number of conversations about this before, and I'm learning. For everybody that's out there that has no idea, let's talk to them and kind of explain to them the history and the background and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. So the Fae part is actually kind of tricky. So a lot of people know, but also a lot of people don't know that I go by pronouns they, them. I don't make a big hassle about it, mostly because of the fact that I know how I'm perceived by people. Perception is reality, right? I know how I seem to people, but I also know myself, and I am comfortable within myself to know enough to be like, you know what? If people misgender me, if people use the wrong pronouns and call me he, that he, him, or whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
As long as you don't call me anything like, outside some craziness or whatever, then we're fine.
Yeah, let's leave it. Yeah, for sure.
So there's that. As far as being a Fae goes, that is kind of a tricky sort of question, because there are pronouns that people use that are like Fae, fair, or something of the sort, and I'm not knocking them and saying like, oh my god, like, but I don't personally use them. For me, Fae is more of a sort of like an identity in a way, and the reason for that being like kind of going into a psychology tip here, the idea that we all wear masks, like we're not always the same person around different people. It always kind of shifts or changes in some way, shape, or form. And I feel the most natural and most myself when I'm dressed up as my Fae character. So like I have wings, I have hooves, like it is a whole freaking thing. And I kind of like just embody this light and happiness and joyful and that's kind of where things kind of go for me. Is because I feel the most natural in that sort of identity. That's why I identify as that, because it's like, okay, this is who I am, and just trying to figure out how to integrate that more into my everyday life. That being said, if people actively like look at the history behind the word Fae, they find that it has Celtic origins and usually talks about like Fae being mischievous, like Puck from Shakespeare, where they're like playing tricks on humans and stuff like that. Or the idea of like, don't give a Fae your name, otherwise they're gonna have control over you, sort of thing. I don't see myself as that kind of a Fae. People, whenever they think of Fae now, they think of like fairies and Tinkerbell and stuff like that. That's all Tinkerbell and stuff like that. That's all, but kind of a subset. Anyways, I'm getting into the weeds.
No, you're good. By the way, if everybody sees that there's a off, sometimes the camera gets off versus the sound, it happens. So just try to like listen and watch and stuff like that. Before you finish the explanation, can you tell everybody what you're doing right now? Because I want people to understand what you're doing right now.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so it's part of the conversation, actually. So what I'm doing is I am preparing a special effects makeup appliance to put on myself, and I actually was kind of debating exactly how far I was going to go with this, because sometimes it can be kind of brutal. Like, you know, I was like, oh, maybe I could do a neck slash or, you know, something like that. And it's like, wait, actually, hold on. Let's try to keep it like PG-13, like not too terrible.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just making that up and going to just do like a quick little like wound on my head. Probably like a nice slash. Or something.
Oh, yeah. No, that's good. I just, I wanted everybody to understand what was going on, because that's part of our next conversation that we're going to get to eventually. Yeah, so I just want y'all to know that's our second topic. That's right over here, by the way. So like, how did I guess as you grow up, obviously you felt one way, you got to another point, and then you found that you felt more comfortable as a Fae. What was the journey like to go from youngling to I use a Star Wars reference, like the youngling to Padawan to mastering your own self, I should say. That's usually how I put it.
So there is another therein lies another sort of a trick, is because I didn't actually have the sort of recollection or the identifying until I'm gonna say it was probably like until like 2 or 3 years ago now. And it started with like just kind of like thinking back on my childhood, thinking of certain things that happened, and this sort of neutrality that I was in as a kid. Like I never actively saw myself as a dude or a girl or anything like that, but I had a lot of girlfriends. So whenever there was a moment where like I was like, they were talking about having a sleepover, and I'm like, oh, that'll be great, hang out with my girlfriends at a sleepover, yada yada yada. And they're like, well, you can't, come and do this with us because you're a boy.
Fair enough, yeah.
And I had that moment where I'm like, but wait, what do you mean? But of course, being a kid, I never really thought anything beyond that, especially like those days whenever things were still being like discovered and figured out. So, you know, I just went through life as I was told and as I was raised to be, you know. And it wasn't until whenever I got older, whenever I started realizing like I really that hasn't actively gone away. Like I still don't like sit in that realm. And yeah, like kind of eventually like I started like realizing that I was neither one way or the other. And so that's why I was like, you know what? This is where I sit. So this like non-binary, like not one or the other sort of thing. But again, because of knowing how I present to people and how I am as a person, I don't make a big fuss about it. Like I might like tell people in the beginning, but otherwise I'm just kind of like, it is what it is. It is what it is, but it's also it is what it is, but it's also what I accept.
Yeah. Like was that like kind of a like when did you feel comfortable enough to not live the way you were told to be? Like these are the just for the record, I'm not trying to be like you know, embracive to like everything. I want to know, I want to learn, and I want everybody else to, and this is why I bring everybody in. Everybody has their own lives and stuff like that. I want to, you know, adventure that topic or whatever. But like, how did you know when it was okay to tell or live the life you wanted to live versus living like what you're told to live?
Just being very supported. I feel like a lot of people that I grew around kind of knew already. There was a friend of mine that I confided in about it, and she kind of was just like, yeah, I knew already. I'm like,
who cares? Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Well, bitch. But it was great. Like just having the community around me that was very warm and welcoming, that was willing to help me kind of learn through this stuff. It was probably that was the main reason why I felt like so comfortable to bring that out. That being said, I do know that it was hard to tell my birth mother about it. Like I agonized about this for like the longest time until my elder like extended family member basically told me like, you've told me, why don't you tell her?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like she's been supporting you, it's gonna be fine. And so I finally did, and my mom was just like, I'm not gonna pretend to understand it, but I am here for you and I'm going to support you how I can. So yeah, and I'm like, cool. It makes it easier on me.
Yeah,
makes it easier on me.
Yeah. I don't know if you're reading chat or not, but Yoshi's like, we all went through that with our face, and then Andy's, and then I love your fucking face. I don't know why I have to scream that, but it's still funny.
I love you too, Bruised.
Like I understand, like you were talking about like your birth mother, like saying like it was kind of not as easy to tell her as much as you thought. But is there, like, was there anybody else that like you were at one point or another you're like, okay, how do I say this, how do I do this? Because I know there's a lot of people in chat right now, and I know there's a lot of people that are that watch this, you know, and kind of like, well, I'll have DMs a lot and says, hey, you talked about this, you know, topic, you know, do you know much about it? And we have like side conversations. I don't tell anybody that, you know, I have these conversations. I just tell like a little bit about them. But like is there a better way to deal with it? Is there a better way to explain this conversation to people that may or may not understand?
Welcome, J. Crew. LOL.
It's kind of difficult to have those conversations, just because of what goes into it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the, like, you know, we all watch the news. A lot of this has been heavily politicized.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And there's various studies on both sides that contradict one another and so on and so forth. As far as like really understanding it, or like trying to explain it, I look at it this way: is like, if I don't know this, you know, the person that I'm dealing with, rather than like assuming or not wanting to offend necessarily, I might just use like they, them pronouns. I just kind of have gotten used to that, but that's also because I run in a lot of queer circles, which is where a lot of the community and sense of like encouragement and empowerment came from for me in terms of being able to share who I am as a person. But it takes a certain kind of person to be being open-minded and willing to actively just listen, and kind of like my mom, in the sense of like, you may not necessarily be able to understand it. Like, even if we explain it, you know, from a psychological standpoint or a biological standpoint, which all those are like, you know, bigger topics that take a while to kind of get into, but like the ability to actively say, I don't understand, but I'm willing to try, or I am still here to support you, is still very, very powerful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm like trying to think, I'm like, how does one like broach that subject? But it's like you really, there's only so many ways you're able to try to explain it to somebody, and they might still never be able to figure it out. But as long as they're, you know, just kind of open to continuing to learn and be supportive and whatnot, then I don't see a problem with it. A problem with it necessarily.
Yeah, I've actually, like, with a lot of friends of mine, I like, for history, for people that don't know me and don't know the history about me, like, I've had a brother that's been gay for my entire life. My wife has choreographed drag shows. I've been in with drag shows. I've been with all that whole like different side of the world that people like want to like talk shit about, talk whatever. Like, we're all fucking awesome. Wait, what are you doing, Allie? But like, it's you. There is a reason why in this community there's like Together We All Succeed, because we want to do that. Oh, thank you so much for the gift us up, Bruce. Allie, you're on fire tonight. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, someone's on fire tonight. I appreciate Allie. Thank you so much. Like, oh my gosh, so much love for you as well. I like
Allie's going nuts.
I know. What is? I don't mind the interruption. That was what I was saying. So thank you so much. The whole. And I'm not going to get too much into the political side of it, because I mean, I just want you to just kind of like throw this out there. Is like, you know, see the religion, see the part of it. Like, I hate the hate part of it, and I don't use hate very often, but hate should not be exclusive for one race, one area of people, or whatever. It's, we should all like just love each other. And then like so many people that are saying like, oh, we don't like the Olympics thing that just happened or whatever. It's like, you know what? If you believe in that religion, you would realize that you would have been invited to the table. So everybody would have been there. So it doesn't matter, you know, what you wear, what you look like, how you act, you know, all that kind of stuff. You should all be welcome. So y'all, there was a military guy that always said, get fucked or die, and die mad about it. And I love that so much. It's like, if you really have this problem, then yeah, just get fucked and die mad about it. I don't give a shit, you know, like whatever, go away, you know, whatever. So, but like, that's my history. But like, how,
exactly.
Yeah. So with that, I know doesn't matter if whatever separation of the norm is what I will call it. What people say. I'm not saying that that's what I believe, but like that's what people say. Kind of does affect other people's like mental health and stuff like that. What? J Crew, thank you so much for gifting it to Yoshi. J Crew's popping in, saying hi. J Crew always pops in, does something like this, and doesn't even say anything for a while, so I appreciate it. Does being like in that world of everybody thinking that, oh, you should be one or the other kind of thing, how does that affect like mental health, and how do you help others with that same concept within the communities that you're part of?
So I mean, it comes back to that sense of community and affirmation. Mm-hmm. Because we live in a binary society. We live in a world that is very binary, but mm-hmm. binary from the sake of the human experience.
Yeah.
And sure. Even beyond that, though, there is still like,
you just top off the fifth
studies
one?
That talk about people that are in the middle, Yeah.
I appreciate it. Sorry, thank you, Jay, for getting that to way up in that.
Jay is going nuts.
Yeah,
I love it.
Y'all are fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, so go ahead. Sorry. Welcome to the interruptions of the world.
No worries.
So we're talking about mental health. We're talking about, yeah, go ahead.
So mental health, yeah. Ultimately, it's just being supportive of the people. No, J Crew, you are perfect, my dude. It is okay. Ultimately, it just comes back down to being supportive of the people that are affected and being encouraging, affirming them, that sort of thing. Or whenever recognizing that you might not be able to like understand the experience, but recognizing that somebody is actively responding negatively to that sort of thing, just mm-hmm. being willing to be accepting of who they are as a person.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't. It's hard to say that someone should be defending them to some extent, but it's like being an ally.
Yeah.
Like being an ally to me doesn't necessarily mean that you're trying to fight their battles for them or anything of that sort, but actively trying to encourage, empower, give them the tools so that they can stand up for themselves, so that they can represent who they are as a person. Mm-hmm. Because if they have those tools and they're able to actively be strong enough within themselves to be who they are in the society, however effed it is, then that makes a world of difference in terms of their mental health and being able to be stable in the crazy world we live in.
Yeah, I've actually come across like, if you didn't have that initial group that kind of like made you feel comfortable of who you are, no matter what. I'm not gonna segregate, each individual, whatever. But like, if you have that one group that says, or the family member or friends or college roommates or whatever that say, who the fuck cares, about what other people think. does the question is, I guess, is when people say, oh, who cares what other people think, just be yourself, that necessarily doesn't always happen. Like, it's not easy to just say fuck everybody else and just move on. Like, how do you deal with understanding that says, okay, yeah, I just need to be myself, and you're not going to say fuck everybody else, but you have to still deal with all that shit on top of being yourself. Like, how do you move through that and with the group that you have and all that kind of stuff? Does that make sense? Did I ask that question correctly? Because I feel like it's different in my head.
I think so. Like, I got like the question being like, if you don't have that stable support system already in play, how do you navigate the whole like
yeah, thank you.
being yourself thing?
Yes.
And that's tough. Like, it's really tough to be able to do that on your own because of the amount of ignorance that comes
yeah,
to you. And not even just ignorance, but there's ignorance, and then there's also that ire, that hatred, like that venom that people spew. So being in a space where you don't feel that secure to be able to be yourself, and then you're actively having to deal with all that, it's really freaking hard. You're having to basically fend for yourself, because in that moment you do feel alone, and it's because of that it makes it difficult for others to try to branch out or try to ask for help. And even in that regard, like, usually people in those situations, especially if that lack is IRL, they go to the internet to seek these validating experiences, to seek this community. But depending on their circumstances, sometimes it's not enough.
Yeah.
And I wish I had like a prettier picture to paint whenever it comes to that sort of situation, but I mean, it's not pretty. It's really not, because of the amount of struggle that has been attached to the LGBTQIA plus community. That there's so many community. That there's so many.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody,
I'm like trying to make sure that I get everything.
No, you're good. If there is somebody out there that are dealing with this by themselves, do you have like any suggestions or any like thoughts of how or where to go to get that support, or where to go to, like, be comfortable? I mean, I guess because that's what we're always talking about here, is trying to make sure that everybody's, comfortable in their own skin, and like where places where people can be welcome and stuff like that. Like, is there like any advice for people that are going through this themselves and not like have that support system, I guess?
The best advice that I would give in those sorts of situations would really be just trying to find like local resources, community outreach that is in their area, if there is one. If there's not one, because I know that there are certain places like that, there's always like online resources that are available, like there's if I remember correctly, there's GLAD, there's the Trevor Project, abundance of resources for people to actively like reach out or be able to kind of find their community, or even just the resources to try to feel validated in their existence.
Yep. And then if you're watching this live, this is what we're talking about, but if you're catching this on YouTube, I'll make sure that we put those resources and stuff like that in the description below, because I think that's more important for everybody to have that support group, no matter if, and this is what I want to step back for just a second. I want to say, everybody, don't matter how you feel. I mean, even me, I need help. I mean, I need assistance, and sometimes I need a friend and all that kind of stuff. So we're not just trying to segregate like this one popular like like the community, I guess I should say. We're trying to like involve everybody to understand, like, you know, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be there. It's okay to like do your own things. We'll talk about a culture of empowerment and all that kind of stuff later on and whatnot. But we just want to find a place for you to be happy and be able to, you know, get the resources you need. So I'll put a couple of those in the thing below. But now that we kind of understand what Faye is and like kind of understand like what makes you happy and things like that, it's like we're kind of explaining what you're doing now to yourself. Obviously the special effects, makeup and stuff like that for movies. Like, what made you interested in something like this? What made you like doing what you're doing now? Let's put it that way, because we were watching you do it live.
So this specific type of makeup was kind of like a necessity that was kind of made like introduced essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So originally what I was into more of the prosthetic makeup. I was into the creation of your people's like character, like the creatures, werewolves, fairies, dragons, things of that nature, demons even.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, and because of where I live, not having that much of a big community for stunt work, which was something that I've been training in previously, I just kind of started gravitating towards the makeup because I'm like, oh, this would be fun to be able to learn and be able to do. And in the process of that, I learned that if you do not live in a major city that is probably making those types of films, there is not a high demand for like prosthetic makeup, or you're turning people into different creatures or things like that. So the first project that I ever worked on as a special effects makeup artist was actually a creature feature, but the main thing that we were doing was really just the gore.
Mm-hmm.
So like the blood effects and slashes and things of that nature. And it's because of that I started learning, okay, well, now I need to actively learn how to make gashes, or somebody that just got their guts pulled out of them, like stuff like that. And then like even like slasher films, like the last film that I did was a slasher and somebody got their face bashed in with a bat.
Oh my god.
So I'm like having to learn all this like trauma makeup and stuff like that to really get into it. And even the trauma stuff, I realized I'm like, I love doing this because I love being a part of the creative atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
I love being like in the mix of things. But even still, it's fun to just be able to transform somebody like that. And, you know, their normal 1 minute, and then the next minute it looks like they have a swollen eye and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you happen to find more work during spooky season for haunted houses? As far as more work, no. Ironically, but it's because of where I am. A lot of the people that do have that sort of makeup stuff, it's usually very simple, or they know how to do it themselves, so they don't necessarily need to hire me for it. Truth be told, my actual like first dive into doing the SFX makeup stuff was with a haunted house, an interactive haunted house where like I had to make a severed arm and actually detail it to look like the actress that was getting it chopped off, and it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot from that experience, but I just kind of carried it over to the film and television stuff that I've been wanting to do.
Mm-hmm. Is that like, how did you like really get into, like, was it something like you wanted, like you just picked up like yourself, or was it something that you wanted to like was there somebody that taught you how to do it, or did you teach yourself? How did that come about? Yeah, it was basically all self-taught. YouTube is
an amazing YouTube is an amazing educational reference, and I hesitate to say that, but it's true. There's so much information available on YouTube for this type of stuff, and that's honestly where I learned a lot of the stuff that I do now. That's more of the simple stuff, so like wounds and how to apply like the little store-bought like gunshot wounds and stuff like that you get.
Yeah,
like that's all from YouTube that I learned how to do. And actually the stuff that keep hitting my microphone. The stuff that I am actually using right now is stuff that I created on my own based off of a recipe that I got from YouTube. From YouTube.
So is that something that like you have to put do like this stuff on yourself and then take photos and like build a portfolio and then like kind of show people like to get hired? Is that something like, how do you get involved with the movies with that like self-taught skill?
So in my area where I am, having the experience and being able to have a portfolio, that is really good. I'm not going to knock that. Whenever it comes to the mainstream industry, based off of the things that I know of, it very much depends on who you know, because industry people tend to gravitate towards the people that they know, people that have reputations that they're able to trust. Yeah. And that's kind of what I've started to establish myself here in my area, is that I've been doing it often enough that people are like, okay, we might be able to reach out to this person about this project, or my state has a actual Facebook group where people will post their projects, and oftentimes I'll just reach out and be like, hey, I can do a thing. Yeah. And we'll be able to like coordinate from there. Like I'm actually in talks with this one guy to do special effects makeup for his project that involves specialty contact lenses. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition or not.
That's really cool.
There is another person that wanted me to work on their like it was basically a vampire commercial short, if I remember correctly.
That's cool.
And with that, I just needed to actively give everybody fangs. People don't realize like the broad scope that special effects makeup actually covers.
Yeah.
Even the small stuff.
Yeah.
Even the small stuff.
And that's kind of like why we wanted it. Like that's kind of another reason why I wanted to bring you back on, because what we used to do is just like get together and just bullshit and just play games together and stuff like that. But like now that we've actually moved to the format of like sitting down and talking about life in general and like what you're interested in and all that stuff, this is like the topic that I'm like really curious about, is like not just about the broader specs, but like how things are done, why are things are doing, like before I guess like the ask about the biggest projects and the projects and all that kind of stuff, like why, like I'd say like what, walk us through like what you're doing now, like obviously you've created this like technique of what you're doing based on what you've seen, like what pulls this technique versus so many other ones that you've seen, like why is this one a little bit better, this one is the one that you cling to versus other ones that are probably out there?
So this technique I find is a little bit easier to work with whenever you're doing it, especially like really quick things. Whenever you're doing like really quick things that are like pretty simple, that might be done like basically on set. Especially if you don't have something that's pre-planned or pre-made already available to be able to just slap on someone. So what I was using, or what I have been using, is this stuff called Scar Wax. And honestly, it's super easy to make it, because all it is it looks kind of gross, but all it is it's a Vaseline and flour.
Yeah. And then do you like you have to add like a color to match yourself to it? I'm guessing, right?
Yes. So it comes out normal, like in like a neutral tone. Kind of like this, I'd say like beige color. And what I do after that is I add some of my like liquid foundation to it to be able to match my skin tone. It makes it a little bit easier to work with. And what I was doing earlier, as you saw, was because the tone wasn't really matching quite as much, I was just using a brush to actually brush on the foundation so it would blend into my skin a little bit better. And whenever it comes to the actual like sculpting process, this is stuff that I kind of figured out just from experimentation. Like there's an online resource called the Stan Winston School, and Stan Winston was a very prolific special effects makeup person in the film industry. And just watching a couple of videos of his instructors, I was able to learn a variety of different things, because whenever it comes to special effects makeup, you have to have a very wide skill set. You have to learn you have to know how to be able to sculpt. You need to know how to be able to mold, do basic makeup. So like what I've been doing with just the brushes and painting and everything, there's a lot of like basic skills that you need to know in order to create looks. And so yeah, I have been using a variety of different brushes that I've pretty much gotten from like variety packs. Like some of these are brushes that I can get that are used normally for like watercolors or canvas painting. Like I think this is actually a watercolor brush that I've been using for stuff. But you get used to just experimenting and seeing what things work out the best. So yeah, this is just experimentation, but also kind of real life experience, so to speak.
Yeah. Or
I won't say experience per se, but like you do your research. Having to actively look up grotesque images on the internet in order to figure out, okay, well, I need to make sure that this guy has a compound fracture with a bone sticking out, and or this person who actively has their intestines hanging out, what would that look like? So then you're having to go online and probably get put on a watch list somewhere because you're literally just scrolling through images of just terrible things. But yeah. I'm getting off the track scene.
No, you're good. So I'm going to ask you about like what you're doing now, like how like you're blending it into like yourself and making it look like obviously as real as possible and stuff. Like how do you, like, now that you're getting to the point where you're starting to see what's going on, how do you take the glare off? Like, is there something that you have to do to, like, since you have lights on that lights you up and stuff like that, how do you take that kind of glare off, so like the camera and the spotlight to try to lighten you up in the movie or something like that, how does it take that away from showing like, yeah, that's the spot right there? Like, how do you blend that in on top?
So generally what would happen is
it's kind of almost like what you're doing now.
You would have like setting powder. Yeah, like normally you would have setting powder to be able to actively like make it a little bit more matte.
Yeah.
And not be as shiny. But unfortunately,
no, you're good. No, you're good. I mean, it looks freaking fantastic now. I was just like, just curious.
I don't have.
I'm noticing. I'm watching an artist create something, so it's really awesome to ask questions about and like figure it all out.
Yeah, and so like looking up close, looking up close at it, it's like, okay, you could obviously kind of see, see it,
Right.
but movie magic, thankfully, is able to make that less apparent.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just seeing if I could try to feather it a little bit more with the skin.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's like the major difficulty with it.
Yeah. So since you've done like all like different movies and stuff like that, we'll talk about like if you want to like plug any of it and stuff like that. Is there like what's your favorite like thing that you've ever like been a part of or created, or even, I mean, even if you haven't even touched it, that you were there to be a witness of, or something like that? Like, is there something that like you love, that you tell the story about all the time? Like, oh my God, you should see this. This is really cool. This is what happened.
Honestly, it comes back to the first film that I did, which was the Yorkie werewolf. Unfortunately, there's a lot of special effects stuff that we did that didn't get picked up for the final film.
Yeah.
But I want to say like one of my favorite scenes that we got to do was a beheading. Guys mouthing off to a werewolf at the bar. Werewolf just full on like decapitates him, and it's fun. It was fun for us because it was me and my partner at the time, Dave. I learned so much from him. So like, shout out to Dave Shezzy for all of your wisdom. But he had this appliance that was basically just like a severed neck. And we had the guy like kind of tilting his head forward. We had the neck on top, and we had a prosthetic head that we actually that Dave had, that we kind of like put fake hair on to match the actor.
Yeah.
And like we were just kind of just like matching him shot for shot from before. And so whenever we got to actually do the scene, we have plastic all over the floors and the bar so that we're not getting everything, like blood everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So we're counting it down as the camera's rolling. It's just 3, 2, 1, and head just rolls off. And you just see this just geyser of blood coming out. And it is the most awesome freaking thing. And we had to do that like at least 3 or 4 times. But the best and worst time was whenever we had he wasn't a PA, but he was like a major person on the set. I want to say he might have been the set designer. But he was in a position where he had to hold the head up while me and Dave were focusing on the actual effects, like the actual blood effects. So the head just falls off as we're calling it, and this guy just gets completely covered, just covered in blood. And I just remember feeling so bad afterward. Like, I'm like, oh my God, are you gonna be okay? Like, do you have a change of clothes or whatever? And of course, like, he had plastic on still, but it still got like all over his face and everything. And he's just like, no, dude, I'm fine. That was the greatest fucking thing that's ever happened to me. I'm like, okay. All right.
What do you mean? Everybody wants to come to work and get splattered with blood. You know, it is what it is.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God.
I like before, like, I guess one of the main questions, I mean, talk about something that's like near and dear to most people on the channel. We talk about like Marvel, we talk about things like that, like even like Deadpool, things like that. I was watching one of the interviews with Ryan Reynolds, and he was talking about like how it's like he was sitting in the like chair for like 4 hours, and like every day it was like 4 hours. This is what it is to make it look like this. Like, and he's like, oh, I was so happy because by the time we got done shooting, we were down to like 2 hours. Like, is that something that they create? Like something they just apply to them and then they just apply the makeup, make it blend in and be good? Or is it like because at the very beginning when they started, it was doing everything that you're doing now to him? Like,
everything that I was doing, but to him. So with the Deadpool makeup, so most movies like that are like really big budget often will have the time to be able to create the pieces beforehand. They do something called good lord. They do something called life casting where
Yeah, we just had another camera flicker, so stand by for a second. Oh, you're good. It's just, for some reason, when you're talking, sometimes the voice kind of kicks back a little bit, so you're good.
Gotcha. But they were able to create the head for him, and then they just sculpt the different appliances onto that bust of his head.
Oh yeah.
And I want to say it was like liquid latex, or it might have been silicone, I'm not sure, but they essentially create these different pieces so that whenever the day of comes, they're able to actively put them on, and they start being able to blend them and encapsulate them, blend them into the skin so that it looks seamless, so it looks like his skin. And because of the extent of the makeup, especially you're having to worry about people moving in it, you're gonna be worrying about he's in costume, so he has a mask over it potentially.
Yeah, I'm sure like the
all these
sweating
different
of it
things.
and all that kind of stuff, it takes effect. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, that's why it can often take so long, is because of learning how to get the process down. And it comes down to what it is that you're doing, how large the appliance is, and really a big factor is also the skill level of the people involved that are actively applying it to.
Oh, for sure.
That could actually make or break timing.
I guess what.
But yeah, he had. I'm pretty sure it was like smallers.
Is there like a technique that you've learned like throughout like the time that you've done, where it's like, okay, you've part of like a movie set or something like that, and you're doing that, like, I'm guessing, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe like a few weeks, maybe even longer, and you're like having to replicate the same look over and over again. Is there something that you've learned that makes it a little bit easier, a little bit quicker, a little bit like, I don't know, I guess I'm learning as I talk, so bear with me here. So
you're all good. Technique. Well, photos.
Okay, good.
Photos are definitely my saving grace whenever it comes to like trying to recreate looks. The other thing that I've been learning recently too is making multiples of the same type of prosthetic, especially if it's pre-made. Because sometimes you're not able to actively use the same prosthetic over and over again. Sometimes it's only one-time use, sometimes you can only get like maybe 2 or 3 uses out of it, and that is only good for like one day out of like however many months of shooting or whatever. So having multiple different copies of the same prosthetic and actively doing all of the photos, like you do before photos, after photos, whenever the paperwork's actually, or whenever the makeup's already been applied. That way you're able to kind of see like, okay, these are where things go, and it just makes things that much easier to recreate the same looks over and over again.
Oh yeah. Like I like my whole thought process in this, and like now that we've talked and we've kind of like met and things like that, I like watch movies in a different perspective now. I'm guessing it's the same thing as you, is like you used to, like when you're younger, you watch all these movies and you see all this kind of stuff, like, oh, this is freaking cool, and you get to see all this. Like, how does that change your perspective watching this? Do you like nitpick, like, oh man, I would have done this a little bit differently, oh man, I saw that, like, oh, they missed this, or like that? How does that change your aspect to watching the movies and stuff like that?
So ironically, I was already in that state. So my minor story time. My god sister used to work in a theater. And because my god sister worked in a theater, she had to watch the same movies over and over and over again, and it got to the point where she actually gained a discerning eye, where like she would see things, be able to know where cuts were made, but then also be able to point out continuity errors, like, okay, that can wasn't there before, or oh, there's a crew member that, you know, got mixed up in the shot somehow or whatever. And she's like able to point all this stuff out to me, and I'm just sitting there like, damn it, can I just watch the movie? Can we just watch this, please? And so now, like, I watch movies, and if I'm seeing them multiple times, then I'm able to start picking things out. But for the most part, I do try to just kind of like enjoy, just try to enjoy the experience. As far as makeup things go, though, there are definitely things that I see in different movies that I'm like, oh, I gotta learn how that look was created or that technique.
Oh yeah.
As far as my own movies go, I definitely have those moments where I'm like looking, especially at old photos of my stuff, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, no, that definitely could have looked better, or I could have done this better or that better, and I'm just like,
oh
damn.
Yeah. Oh
damn.
Yeah. I'm like,
can't take it back now, though.
I mean, look at like streaming and stuff like that. It's like, and the reason why I asked that question is like, you know, when you're never a streamer, you're just sitting there back and you're kind of watching the streams and kind of getting to know people and stuff like that. You're enjoying what's going on and all that kind of stuff. But then when you start getting a streamer, you're like, oh, I've noticed that they're using this type of camera, or like their effect is this. Oh, their transition is this. Like, I'm guessing that's the kind of same like thing that you look for now in movies, where like you're watching this and you're kind of enjoying it, you're kind of stepping out of it, but you're using it as a learning technique as well. So it's like, oh man, I wonder how they did this. Or do you, like, when you're watching it, do you know almost everything that they've done? Like, do you know, like, I know how they did this or how they did this as you're watching it? Do you do that stuff too?
I do.
I do.
It's always fun to just kind of like start sitting and really just trying to pick things apart. So like I said, like, I will try to watch a movie all the way through the first time, just enjoying it. If I do end up coming back to it, then I start actively kind of thinking like, okay, well, how did they make this work? How did they do this scene? Or like, how were they able to frame this in a certain way? Because whenever it comes to filming, to the like film industry stuff, like, I've kind of been all over the place. Like, I have been on set as a production assistant, which is basically just the person that just kind of runs around and does whatever they're told. I have been a stunt consultant where I was actively like creating fight sequences. That's or cool. Trying to stage a car crash. The car crash thing wasn't really a big thing. It was more just like a fender bender, but like staging that sort of stuff. I've been an actor and now doing the special effects makeup stuff, but also being a writer. Like, I actively learned how to do screenwriting because I wanted to actually create my own film, my own fantasy film. And it's because of this I know a lot of the lingo, and I know a lot of the things that people do in their stuff. So yeah, whenever it comes to watching other movies, I'm sitting there like analyzing and trying to figure out, because there's always like the rules that you're not supposed to necessarily break in filmmaking, but it happens all the time anyway. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there like, all right, well, this is the rule that they bent there. This is the rule that they broke there. And oh, this is the type of shot that they use. And oh, it's a wide frame shot right here, and they're zooming in, and oh, there goes that cinematic pan. Like, this is stupid.
Like, are you allowed to talk about some of the rules that are being broken, or like things like, because I'm one of those people that watch do the same thing, or I watch the movie all the way through, and then if I watch it the second time, I'm like Game of Thrones. Oh, there's the coffee cup in the background that they've been talking about. Yep, I finally noticed it. Like, is there, like, what are some of the rules that, like, or I would say like you have to abide by, or something like you're like notice that are getting broken or whatever?
So admittedly, I'm trying to think of like the like major ones that usually happen, and I think that most of the time I think it like deals with like perspective or things of that notion. But the big one that I seem to notice quite a bit sometimes is one called they talk about the rule of 3, where you'll have a shot and it's actively cut into like 3 sections. So like if you have a TV screen in front of you and you're watching a movie and you've got like a shot that's being framed, you look at the screen as like divided into 3 pieces.
Yep.
And usually what they talk about with the rule of thirds is that things have to be balanced out. So like if you are focused on, say, like a character that's in frame, that one character might be dead center. Whoops. The microphone hit again.
Yeah.
Or if you've got a character that's off to the side, like they're offset, then you might have like they're like the background of like so if they're like on the right side, then like the latter 2 other pieces of the shot will have something in the background, whether it's like something faded that's in like the first third, like I'm using lighthouse as an example. So like, you know, somebody's standing on a beach, they're on the shores on the right side, and they're, you know, right there focused, and you see like a lighthouse off on the far left corner or whatever, or you see like a person that's walking down the beach line and they're in the left part of the shot, but as they get closer you start seeing them crossing over to meet the character, and then by the time those 2 meet, usually then it cuts to a close-up of them talking, or it'll do like an over the shoulder shot where that's the dialogue going back and forth.
Yeah, I've seen like the
and so
like,
that's kind of
is that kind of like the build up, like you kind of see it like that way and then all of a sudden it's like there in your face kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's just like the simple transition that usually happens a lot whenever it comes to character interaction, because sometimes it serves a purpose, sometimes it's filler, especially because like if a person's just standing there, then this person comes out of nowhere. Sometimes people are like, well, where the fuck did this guy randomly come from? Like, how's he there now?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's just kind of like it can be very much a build up in terms of that character meeting the other character on the shore, especially if you've got like a type of music that's going in the background where it's like really tense and it just kind of builds up. So then you're like, oh, what's going to happen now? Or maybe it's like a slower sort of like, maybe it's a somber thing. So now all of a sudden, like it almost is like a funeral where this person's walking over to meet this person at the shoreline, and the next thing you know, they're talking about their friend that passed away and they're there visiting for the funeral. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot that goes into the shot to really build that up.
No, I get that. I like, and that's kind of like I do the opposite, and like the kind of like the way this, like I would call it the scene for OBS or whatever. It's like you have the lower thirds, like the news thing. It has all like your details on the bottom, like what's going on. Like if you watch the news, it's all on the bottom, what's going on. You have your headline top, and like what's your, like where can you get the extra information, but yet your eyes always tend to look to the middle, and that's where our cameras are. Like you're not going to just put 2 cameras on the very bottom of the screen, just put a bunch of shit up above them, because that's not where you're going to be focusing on. You're focused on where the middle is, and it's going to throw away that edge. So that's why the cameras are always in the middle of something.
Welcome,
like
Jesse
in this
92.
instance, but that's kind of like my thing. So I totally understand that. I get it.
Yeah.
I do the same thing where I see that, and even like transitions, right, where someone's walking and then the camera's panning with them and then kind of like fades in the next person as they walk, so they're like, it's like the same video as the transition, not just like a cut or something like that. So
right, exactly. Yeah, and that's always the awesome thing is like whenever you see those pan shots because they're trying to follow the rule. They're trying to follow that three the thirds rule where they follow the character to that point, and the next thing you know, whenever they do get to that shot, like if you're following a character, they're walking on your sitting profile, you're gonna have them centered as much as possible up until they get to where that other person they're trying to meet is. And because they're not gonna keep that camera at profile, they're going to tilt it in just enough way that you see both characters are probably cheated like diagonally in some sort of way, so you can have one in the first third and then one on the third. And that's always the fun thing that I like to see, because I'm like following it. I'm like, okay, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? And sometimes they do. And then other times it just cuts and all of a sudden they're talking to each other over the shoulder shot. And I'm like, oh, damn.
Yeah, I think we've had this conversation with like Star Wars. Like, I think Star Wars has is the only current franchise that gets away with the simple like it slices and it spins and it goes to the next thing, like you would see like on Twitch or whatever, like a transition here. But like normal movies or movies outside of that don't do that. It's either like a fade or a cut or whatever like that. But I don't know how they still, it's just nostalgic. They used that in the 70s or like late 70s, early 80s. So they're just like, okay, from now on, we're just going to keep using it no matter how, 30 years, 50 years down the road, we're just going to use this. And no one else is using it, but we get away with it because we've been using it for years. Kind of thing. Right.
Well, I think there's like a sense of the fantastical behind it. Like, I kind of look at it as like a comic book almost in a way, because of just how fantastical the Star Wars universe has been. And so there's almost that, like you said, like there's almost that like sort of nostalgia of what they were doing for transitions before. So it could be a mixture of that too. But every time I look at it, I'm always like, oh, that's like kind of like a comic book transition, and all the fight sequences are all crazy, and it just blends like a lot more. I won't say seamlessly, but it just has a different feel to it. And the different transition types too, I feel like also grip the viewer in a little bit more too, because it's so different. Because it's so different.
I mean, have you with like the summer times and like the fairs and like all that kind of stuff we were talking about, like doing all like the face stuff, and like have you been involved with like creating things for like fairs and like things like that for that kind of concept, or is that more only you use that I would say your perfectionist like part of it just in movies, or just in like that kind of thing, or do you actually like advance just for fun outside of the movies kind of thing? Hey, Maddie.
Hi, Maddie. I guess I'm trying to
like how like they do like
so the question was like,
yeah, like they do like the fairs where like get together, like you do like the role playing and things like that. Like, do you have fun? Like, do you do stuff more of that like for fun, or is that more of like you do it for just more mainly for a business? I guess I should say, be more specific.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, the face stuff is definitely it's more. At this point, it's definitely been more for fun. If I was able to make that into a sort of business, that'd be kind of cool. The only thing for me that kind of makes me wary about it is the fact that, one, it's a seasonal thing, but then also there's a lot of travel that has to be involved with that, because if you're wanting to really like try to make money, like Renaissance Fair performers unfortunately don't really make a lot of money. Unless you are like unless you're like traveling, like an actual traveling act that goes to different fairs and stuff like that, you're able to get tips and things of that nature from. So,
Or like if you're in Branson, Missouri, you're doing that stuff like at a
yeah,
show,
for me,
like every single time. Yeah, I get that.
yep, exactly. And so for me, yeah, it definitely is more like fun because I like interacting with people. I like interacting with the kids and making kids smile. Or sometimes I'm just looming over them and they get intimidated because they're like, "Oh my god."
No, yeah. Fair enough.
But overall, it's just a lot of fun for me because at that point I get to let loose. Like I said, I feel a little bit more natural being in that atmosphere and just being in that costume. But if we were able, or if I was able to actually like make a decent side hustle doing it as a performer, like actually traveling, I wouldn't be opposed.
Yeah. Yeah. Like speaking of the reason why I brought that up, because you're talking about like the passion versus your makeup artist being Faye and all that kind of stuff. Like that's the passion, and now you're taking all that information that you've learned, all that kind of stuff, and creating a new adventure into like the culture of empowerment. Like I want to like dive into that and how those things that you've now have done have now built you into something new that you're like going into. So like now that you've talked about all that, how do you take all that information and now put it into this new adventure that you're trying to do now?
Honestly, so that's kind of, it's like a two-pronged thing, because the culture of empowerment, while it's not really a new concept necessarily, it's this idea that I've been having about creating that community of like, I mean, you do it already with the whole like, you know, help all people, you know, together we all succeed, like that sort of thing. I just have it in a sense that I've done so many different things and like been following my passions in a variety of different ways that I'm like, I just have all this like different knowledge based. So I'm like, I would love to be able to empower people and encourage people to do the same. And recognizing that a lot of times there are struggles, there are obstacles that come up. And so what I'm working on right now, kind of as the side to lead up to the culture of empowerment, is building up a coaching business, particularly with mindset and being able to clear limiting beliefs. So a lot of like psychology sort of like things being added to it, but really just being able to give people that those tools to be able to try to work into their passions in the ways that they can, and potentially get past those obstacles that might be coming up. Using my own experience for you know, the sake of argument, but the idea of, yeah, whenever I started in the film industry stuff, I was doing acting, but then I was really interested in stunt work. So I ended up finding the stunt work place that I started training with them for. I got my first stunt training, my first stunt gig. That was a lot of fun. And because of that, I started getting a reputation amongst my peers. So then I was able to do stuff for student films where I was doing whenever I was a consultant and being able to coordinate stuff, to, okay, now I've moved to a place that really has no community for film or whatever the case, but I'm still really interested in it and I still have my connections in different places. Well, I've been curious about this makeup stuff for a while, so let me lean into that. And now all of a sudden this community is starting to blossom and bloom, and I'm actually getting plugged into the right places. So now I'm able to, you know, rub elbows with the right people to actually be able to start doing more of these films as a makeup artist and continue to pursue things. A lot of my stuff is like really like a lot of like networking based too, and just kind of like putting myself in positions to be able to do the things I love, like the Fae stuff. I started that off and was just going to different fairs and stuff like that. I ended up meeting my friend Rena. We hit it off really nicely. Because we got so close with one another, she invited me up to her home where I was going to help facilitate her wedding, her hand fasting. So I ended up doing that in full Fae costume. And then because of that, meeting the different people from her side of things. And now I'm talking to one of her friends, who's now a friend of mine, about starting a coaching business and doing coaching stuff together, but also trying to put together a spiritual retreat. But yeah, all that just coming back to the sense of like my idea of the culture of empowerment is actively being able to do what I've already been doing, which is the affirmations, the trying to reframe people's perspectives, to try to help people let go of limiting beliefs that are keeping them from potentially overcoming obstacles that they may actually be able to overcome, or being able to help them get to a place where, because there's a certain obstacle that they may not be able to clear or they may not be able to get past, being able to kind of work around it or with it so that they're still able to pursue their dreams or their passions or whatever the case may be, within the limitations that they have.
Yeah. I'm like, I while you're talking, I'm like typing some stuff up just because I have like follow-up questions when you're talking about that. But like, I really like, I think it's a great idea, because I mean, it helps people like get over their like when you're talking about like limited beliefs and stuff like that. Could you give an example of what a limited belief is, and so somebody could recognize like something that they're like not even realizing that's hindering them to get to something that they want to get to, I guess?
Yeah. And it's funny, like I break out my notebook here.
No, you're good. That's what the point of this is.
My notes. So like an underlying belief is something like it's basically like a belief that someone holds that prevents them from getting from I'd say getting from point A to point B, but that's kind of like a
No, you're good. I think you're kind of like leaning to the point where like
too small of an idea.
If you feel like you are automatically like can't do something, you're automatically always going to feel like you can't do something, so that's going to hinder you from even trying. Like, is that something like teaching somebody that belief in yourself is hindering you because you feel less of yourself? Like, how do you believe in yourself better to understand that, hey, my goal, I'm trying to get to, like you said, point A to point B. Like, how do I get over that weight on my shoulders to realize that I can get over that and still get there without, whatever the goal is, I guess.
Right, exactly. And so I love how I just muted myself for a second. But the idea of beliefs versus facts.
Okay.
So we talk about beliefs versus facts, and beliefs belief is by definition an acceptance that something exists or is true, especially without proof, trust, faith, or confidence in someone or something. So the idea of having faith in something without proof that it is necessarily fact-based in reality.
Yeah.
And so it says to a large extent, much of what we do in life is influenced by our beliefs. Our beliefs tell us what we can and cannot do. We have faith in our beliefs. And so this is where the limiting belief system kind of comes into play, in that One simple belief can prevent you from living a life that you deserve. The mind is naturally pessimistic. Beliefs may be derived from facts, but beliefs will always be subject to appraisal of available information, but it will never be the information itself.
Wow.
Past experiences, including traumas, may also cause types of beliefs that have some connection to reality, but it doesn't necessarily entirely conform to reality. So I think of that in the sense of like confirmation bias. So like an idea of, oh, I want to write a story, and or like I want to write a script or something, and you write maybe 2 or 3 pages, but you hit writer's block, and so then you get this idea in your head that, oh my god, I'm never going to finish this, whatever, and there's no true belief in reality, or there's no true like set in reality there that actively says that you can't finish this script. Like, yes, you might have writer's block, but you are able to overcome that. So being able to let go of that being able to let go of that limiting belief of I'm never going to finish this thing, being able to allow yourself that for lack of a better word, that courage to push past it.
Now, is this like something there, like, I guess you most people will come up with ideas because of something they've gone through themselves, or they've helped somebody else gone through. Is like, is there an example that you can think of that you remember that it's like, okay, I saw this is how I helped somebody, this is how when I'm coaching somebody, this is exactly the point of this. Can you give a really good example? Kind of like, I call it like selling itself, but I'm like, throwing it out there, like, okay, like, understand somebody like me that might not have any clue what the hell you're talking about. How would you explain it to me to the point where, yes, I want to do this. I want to do this with you. Help me with this and all that kind of stuff. So is there something that, like, an example where you can give to kind of like relates to the folks that might be listening or watching?
So
I know I'm so deep questions. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. And that's the tricky part, because of the fact that, and this is my own sort of limiting belief that I recognize now,
Yeah.
But the idea that I've never actually coached people before, but in truth I have to some extent.
Yeah.
Because coaching, what is coaching if not giving people advice and giving people the tools to be able to move past an obstacle that they're encountering?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that just literally came out of my butt. So take that for what you will.
Perfect.
But,
that's exactly right there.
But I literally, so like, for the idea for me is like my tarot readings, I see that as like spiritual coaching in a sense. Because people will come to me with like questions, or like, what do I need to hear most right now? And I will read the cards, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, that's exactly what I needed to hear. This is resonating. This makes sense to me. One story that I like to tell was from my first psychic fair that I ever did. I was reading for this woman, and I was grasping for straws. Like, I'm reading the cards, I'm leaning into it, I'm trusting myself, but she's not giving me quite that much information to go off of. I read one specific phrase, which was clear out the clutter. And this was an older woman, and I say that one phrase, and all of a sudden she goes ballistic. She is like, oh my god, that is like the truth, da 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 da. She like throws money into my tip basket. But it was that sense of like actively validating her in this moment where she's struggling with being able to let go of things that she was holding on to, being struggling to let go of like things that she was holding on to physically from the past that no longer served her, that were ultimately bringing her like more sadness than joy. And so by actively affirming that and giving her that power and that empowerment, it's basically like that affirmation of like, yeah, you can do this, you can let go, this is your permission.
Mm-hmm.
This is the universe telling you like, hey, it's okay to let go. And she ended up following up with me a couple of weeks later and was basically like, yeah, like I did follow your advice, and I was able to get a bunch of stuff out for, you know, a garage sale, and everything just feels so much clearer, and I feel better, I have more energy, so on and so forth. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
I never really like thought about it in terms of like coaching, but I'm like, yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah, that's really awesome.
Like in retrospect, you're kind of like, when you have kids, you kind of coach them and you kind of like teach them and all that kind of stuff. So in reality, you kind of do that every single day anyway, no matter if you're at a job where you're kind of like on the job training, or like military where you're like teaching somebody brand new, and then you're kind of doing that all the time anyway. But like now you're taking that to the next level. It's like, okay, now you're getting that normally. Like now here's your secondary level of somebody helping you through life, through the adventures, through the blockings of the mind and all that kind of stuff. So I'm following you. So I love the examples, and I just want you to keep giving examples because I love the stories.
Well, it was kind of like it was kind of like a sad story, but not quite, sort of thing. And this is going to resonate with some people, I already know, because I know certain people in chat might be doing this themselves. But the idea of overextending yourself.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have that habit, and I feel like, again, this is just a belief of mine, this is not necessarily rooted in fact or anything, but I feel like overextension often comes from a place of insecurity where it's like you want... I need to stop hitting my microphone because I talk with my hands.
I do that all the
time. But that sense of like wanting the acceptance, the wanting of the acknowledgement, the connection, the wanting to be able to do something for someone because maybe you're actively avoiding something yourself.
Yeah.
So, or even like taking on too much responsibility because for some reason or another you're attaching yourself to the situation, like you're taking it too personally.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what happened to this one specific woman. She was a nanny. She was a caretaker for this house and home, and like trying to take care of the kids and like kind of like adopting them herself. And she was just taking on way too much and overextending herself. And again, that same sort of idea with the key phrasing. But one of the cards that she got was, because I use tarot cards that are based off of animals, and one of the cards that she got was, God, I can't remember the name of it now, but the phrase "not my circus, not my monkeys" came into play.
Mm-hmm.
I kid you not, this woman actively started to break out into
Welcome,
tears.
Montreal 2000.
And I'm sitting here like I'm having that moment where I feel bad because I'm like, oh my God, like did I just hurt this woman? Like what did I say?
Yeah.
But ultimately it was because it hit hard enough that it resonated with her. And it was that acknowledgement that yes, I have been extending myself too much and I need to let go of some of that responsibility because it's not on me to undertake. And the reason why that phrase resonated so heavily with her was because one of the people that she cleaned up for, and mind you, again, this is like multiple people that she cleaned up for, but there was this one particular family that she was kind of latching onto. But on one of their like overheads, like, you know, you're going from one room to another, so there's that little like overhead thing. For one of the rooms, it actually had the phrase "not my circus, not my monkeys" on. I wish I could make shit like this up, but I can't. But it's moments like that though, where it's just like, I know that I'm having something of an impact because it's allowing people to resonate and get the information that they need. And the game's same thing, where it's like about a week or two later, she came back and let me know, it's like, I was able to follow your advice. I started to back off and be able to put up boundaries for myself, and I am feeling a little bit better, but I am still struggling a little bit with like being able to solidly let go. To which point I'm like, I can understand that, because there's that sense of empathy that she was having for the people that she was caretaking for. But ultimately, because she was overextending herself, she was getting tired. She was getting burnout. And so it was a permission for her to be able to pull back to take care of herself. And ultimately that's what a lot of people struggle with, especially whenever they have that thought process of, I'm going to overextend myself, or I'm going to do all these things, because sometimes if I don't get it done, then it's not going to be done proper, or it's not going to get it's not going to get done at all, or whatever the case may be. That's that idea of control. Or confirmation bias, where it actually has happened in the past where they told somebody to do something, but it was done so improperly that they're like, oh my god, I might as well have just done it myself. Recognizing that happening though, it's like, okay, this happened once based off of something that happened, but if you give the people the tools to do the thing properly, then you would be able to actively like step back and give yourself more of a break to rest. That idea of trusting in people.
No, I totally understand.
So
that.
It's a whole thing.
And like, how do you like, I keep thinking about it, is like, man, you need to write a self-help book, like something like with these experiences and stuff like that. Like that would be one hell of a book to read for sure. How do you get past and obviously we're totally off script and, you know, talking about like things like whatever, but like, how do you brought up like the spiritual retreat and things like that. Like, how do you like talk about a spiritual retreat to people that are not religious? Like, how do you relate spiritual versus religion? Like it's so clouded that it's like the same thing, but we all, like, some of us know it's not. How do you explain that to people that like believe that it's all one same thing?
So for me, spirituality and religion coexist, but again, like you said, they aren't inherently one and the same. Because you could be a spiritual person and a religious person. You can be a spiritual person and not be a religious person at the same time. I wouldn't necessarily say that if you're a religious person, you wouldn't be spiritual, because there is a level of spirituality in there, because you have to have faith. And what is like the basis of religion, the basis of spirituality in and of itself is also faith. But whenever it comes to religion is often organized. Religion often has deities of which you have faith in. There is that set belief system, set doctrine Spirituality, on the other hand, is more for the sense of self. Spirituality is the faith within the self, and faith in, I wouldn't say necessarily a higher power, but there is a level of that within too. It's hard for me to kind of explain, but the way that I approach spirituality actively comes from my experiences with martial arts.
Yeah.
Because the martial arts often had a component of spirituality with. So like I think of a form of qigong, which is internal energy work that looks very similar to tai chi, where it's slow moving, slow intentional movements, but the idea is to flow like water. But as you're doing the movements, if you allow yourself to sink into it, it becomes almost a spiritual experience, because you're kind of connecting closer to, like, you're kind of connecting to your body. You're actively being able to focus on your breath and how it feels. There's almost even a connection with the elements themselves, particularly with that one, because it's kind of water based. You start having this visualization of being water, or being like emulating water, and it takes you almost into an altered state of consciousness.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the spiritual like sort of component like really comes from. Similar things with certain types of meditation, where it can cause that altered state of consciousness, which ultimately, whenever these things happen, it's to allow yourself to reach inner truth. If we were talking in the sense of Buddhism, it's the idea of enlightenment or universal truth, or all-knowing in a sense. That's kind of what spirituality is kind of striving for, I feel like, in my perspective, because you're actively trying to become whole. Like I said, it's very complicated, and it's like my own like sort of way to explain it.
No, that's awesome, because like
explain it.
No, that's awesome, because like if you're gonna turn this into a coaching thing, you got to be able to sell it, and you got to be able to talk about it. You got to be able to like show the benefits of it. And I'm just like, and it's funny because like as you're like talking about it, I could like be sitting here like, oh, what's the next question gonna be? What's this? And I'm just like, engulfed in the reasoning. So I appreciate that, because then like I'm super intrigued, and I'm trying to like figure out like, because I mean like there's been talks of like with other people that we've yeah, thank you. So actually it's very interesting, because like you're talking about like we said like earlier, we talked a lot about mental health, and like how do you get past this, how do you help with this, how do you get here, how do you get that. And it could be like empowerment, it could be like just helping with like all these type of traits. I'm not going to get too much far into it, because we could deep dive into this like crazy, but like I am enjoying seeing somebody that has the passion that says, hey, are you understanding what you're going through? Oh, okay, if you're not, I'm going to help you. Even if you are and you need help, this is how I can help you get through this. So like it's just the empowerment thought of it is just like, it's like almost like a chef kiss. Like it's just like I'm almost engulfed in this, and I'm just like losing my train of thought as like somebody, you're supposed to be interviewing this person, you're supposed to be talking to them, like I'm just listening. I'm just listening.
So having to, I actually had to make it easier on myself and be able to actually like paint a better, less ambiguous picture. So spirituality, broad concept that can involve a sense of connection to something greater than oneself and a search for meaning in life. So again, that sense of having faith in something other than the self, but there's still an attempt to be whole. like one of the things that that it talks about, spirituality can include a desire to live in a way that matters and gives life meaning, a striving for inspiration, reverence, and awe, a yearning for connectedness to the universe. Spirituality can be expressed in many ways, including praying, finding comfort in a personal relationship with God or a higher power, aka religion, participating in religion. But the other way that it talks about, and this is the way that I really like impress upon myself as well as other people that aren't necessarily religious, but the idea of believing in family, naturalism, rationalism, humanism, and the arts.
Right.
And that's why they talk about the arts being like, the arts can sometimes be a spiritual experience, especially whenever it comes to music, because you are actively swept away into something, and it can cause that sort of feeling of being connected to something greater than, or giving.
I'm thinking that you're preaching to the choir as a DJ for sure, so I get it. I get that part.
Right. But yeah, like just that sense of like you're actively connecting to something that's higher than, but it's bringing that the connectedness and giving meaning to something that feels ultimately meaningless to a lot of people that just kind of go through their lives.
Yeah.
Through their lives.
Yeah. I actually was just having this conversation last night because like we were working on something that's coming up in the future that we're not talking about just yet, but like taking that moment, because like I grew up as religious, Catholic, with CCD, with Sunday school, like all that kind of stuff. And like you start like evolving as you get older. Like, do you believe in this? Do you believe in that? Like, do you keep your spirituality no matter if it's, you know, with religion or not, things like that. Like, I believe that even taking a moment, like, and I have a truck, and we were talking about this the other night, like you backing up your truck to like a sunset or sunrise, and and just taking a moment and just enjoying like what you see, like being able to be one with what's going on with what you're doing. And there's that phrase that you hear like now, it's like, you know, you need to take a moment, step away from everything, and go outside and touch some grass. Like, it's exactly that moment that you realize that you're going to step out of the norm, step out of the stress, get grounded once more, and figure out what is making you tick, and then taking that that empowerment or the thought process, and then taking it back into the house or in that stress moment, and being able to take control of what's going on. So I totally understand all that.
Oh yeah, and so the spiritual retreat thing that that I was talking about, and that sense of empowerment. So the thing that I've been working on is this concept of the shadow, which is a concept that has been attributed and coined by Carl Jung. If people recognize that name from psychology, 10 points to you. Mm-hmm. But Carl Jung was just this very influential psychologist. We have a lot of basis in psychology from his work. And the idea of the shadow, again, kind of going from my own experience and my own way of explaining it, is we continue to evolve as we grow, and certain circumstances can happen that will cause shadow aspects to occur, which meaning it is a part of ourselves that we will push aside or shun, often out of shame or guilt, so that we're actively hiding that part of ourselves away. Mm-hmm. And there are certain things that a new concept that I learned recently called golden shadow, which is these aspects that of our former selves that actively were good, that we do enjoy about ourselves, but were left behind whenever that shadow was created, whenever that wound was created, because of a trauma that happened, or you had to be a certain type of way in order to survive. That survival mentality sort of thing, the scarcity mentality, or whatever the case may be. And so the work that I'm trying to do is actively allowing people to dive within themselves. And this kind of starts going into like therapy-esque work, admittedly, but it's not quite that, because it's kind of got that spiritual component because you're actively doing the work, but there's also like a chance to release to faith, but also there's an empowerment within the self too. So it's like a bunch of different things.
Oh god! What's up, everybody? Thank you all so much for coming on in. 911 Raid, thank you so much.
You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows you're.
I love the Golden Girls emotes. I love them. Like, they're freaking fantastic. For everybody that's brand new to the channel, we have the cheers thing because it's not only one of my favorite shows, but it's all about bringing people in and getting to know you and welcome you all and thing. I do owe you a song. We have this new thing where we sing you a song and for a raid, but we're going to do that way after this one. So remind me another next time. I owe you one. So like, let's put that on the IOU for a song to sing for you a little bit later. This I wouldn't be able to do this for recording it for YouTube, but thank you so much bringing your community in. And we are sitting down with Anikailani talking about, right now we're on the subject of culture of empowerment, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Welcome in, everybody. So like in that instance with spirituality you were talking about, so please continue. Pardon for the interruption.
No worries. No, I love being able to talk about it and being able to like show other people, or explain to other people.
Yeah.
But anyway, spirituality kind of aside for a moment, shadow work. The idea was coined by Carl Jung in psychology. There is the mystical new age sort of talk about shadow work, which really is nothing but actively going within the self and pulling things from the subconscious, like things that you kind of shunned, like shame, guilt, whatever circumstance happened that made you have to evolve out of necessity and push this version of yourself aside.
For sure.
Kind of like fracturing yourself in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so the work that I'm actively trying to do is really like being able to address some of those shadow aspects and being able to reintegrate them, being able to actively let go of that shame. Like, okay, that was a part of me, but it no longer serves me. It served me for that purpose in that circumstance, but I am okay with myself now. Or I know that was who I was, but that is no longer who I am, like taking accountability for it, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
Like I did a reading with someone about, like, I want to say this past weekend, because I was kind of testing out everything with the shadow work, and the things that were coming up for them were like procrastination, God, I'm trying to think.
They're good.
Hold on, I got my cards here somewhere.
No, you're good.
Here somewhere.
No, you're good. What I like about this, as Annie looks for all that kind of stuff, it's what's sparking the relationship with, like taking that knowledge that you have, the knowledge that somebody else can give you, and then making it better of what it is. So like that's what Annie's talking about right now, just so y'all can catch up and know what we're talking about. So no, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for bringing your community over here. And we're recording this for YouTube, so if you are curious, you can see it later. So I appreciate it. All right, go ahead. Sorry, I was filling in the blank while you were running and looking for your stuff.
No worries. So these are cards that I got recently. They're called the Shadow Soul, Sacred Soul Shadows Oracle deck. And ultimately, it's all these aspects of the shadow that could come into play, or like the negative parts of ourselves that we are ashamed of or feel guilt about, or whatever the case may be. But the biggest way to actively get rid of shadow is to take ownership of it. That sense of being empowered enough to say, like, okay, this was a part of me, but I am no longer ashamed of that. I can let this go, because oftentimes with the shadow is that whenever it's not addressed, it can come up in other ways in the future.
Yeah.
Welcome,
So, like,
GWUN.
we've got one that talks about avoidance. It's key to see the need to avoid discomfort, but also to overcome it and thrive. Facing fears. It's not about being fearless, but having the courage to progress despite them. Need validation, seeking reassurance for your achievements, emotions, or decisions. That was one that came up a lot whenever I did the readings the other day.
Yeah.
But like the need assurance ones specifically, if I'm gonna tab on that now, actually, that is a shadow aspect. Because if we are actively secure within ourselves, then we don't necessarily need that external validation. Yes, it's good to be able to have, but we're not necessarily needing it. We want it. We want to be seen for our accomplishments, but it's not needed.
Yeah.
So that's the key word there, is the idea of needing it. And that usually, again, comes from a sense of trauma or some sort of factor that caused that insecurity to happen. And so in my case with the shadow work, if this card comes up, we start talking about it. We start talking about it and going, okay, this shows up. Where is this showing up? Why is this showing up for you? What circumstances might have led to this developing? Or like, if it really resonates with someone, like they might already have a situation in mind that this applies to, and like, oh, I know where this came from or whatever. So we talk about it. We're able to actively hash it out. And throughout the conversation, like, for me, it's really like, again, that sense of empowerment where I'm actively encouraging them to examine it, encourage them to consider where these things came from, but also being able to either take ownership of it or being able to forgive themselves for it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, especially whenever it comes to that needing validation usually comes up because of some sort of turbulence within the past that made it where you don't feel like you are enough. That is the main thing, that something or someone made you feel like you weren't enough. And so now you need the validation from external sources to be able to feel good about yourself.
Right.
That is a shadow aspect. That is an insecurity. That is a limiting belief. Because at the bottom of that is that limiting belief of I am not good enough, based off of some sort of thing in your history that led you believe that that was the case.
Like,
so we talk about it.
Like, do you ever like
we hash it out? We're like, what is this coming from? Like, what is this coming from?
No, you're good. I was just like, was trying to like come up with like for an example, like empowerment. Like, how do you, like, if somebody comes up to you and you're coaching them and you're kind of talking about this, I'm trying to come up with like some good excuses that are kind of examples that I've come across with other folks, is like, how do you explain like I would say like a PTSD, like I'm in the military, or I have other people that have gone through some stuff, or like I've had, you know, like abuse in my past and things like that. Like, how do you help somebody like with that previous knowledge or previous like PTSD is what, you know, my biggest thing is what I lean to. Like, how do you get over that? How do you like get that person or that aspect of what happened out of your brain, to not to control you as much as it would be as if you didn't go through something like that?
So that is the tricky situation, and this is also
Which is
where,
yeah.
like, I know not everybody, I know not everybody goes to therapy and stuff like that, but this is definitely one of those times where it's like, okay, there might be a conversation of needing more professional help
Agreed.
in that regard.
Yep.
But if somebody is hesitant or are opposed to the idea, then we start talking about, or not necessarily talking about the incident that caused it, but giving them the tools to be able to work through those scenarios, like the stereotypical grounding sort of thing of being able to be mindful, being present. If I remember correctly, I had seen studies that actively talked about the practice of mindfulness and being present in the moment being grounding enough to be able to actively pull people out of those types of episodes, if they have enough practice. But PTSD is definitely one of those like really tricky situations. That you need to be able to have extra training to be able to work with. And that's also part of the reason why I may not necessarily have the advanced training, but I acknowledge that I don't know everything, but wanting to help as many people as I can, and knowing that trauma is becoming a lot more prevalent, or at least is coming more to light for people now.
Right.
We have so many resources that are available out there so that people
Welcome
can
to
actively
Crimson
learn about
_V.
trauma, learning how to work with people with trauma. So, like, I have a book. I actually have a book that is called The Trauma Informed Coach. So background spoiler alert for people that may not have known about this, but I used to be a cop. And one of the biggest things that we had to learn was actively working with people that had gone through trauma.
Yep.
Especially because I worked at a university. And so because of the training that I've had, because of my own experiences, because of the experiences that I've seen friends, family go through, heard stories of, trauma is everywhere. And I would be doing a disservice to people if I weren't trying to come from a place of being trauma informed to help them.
Yeah.
Because whenever it comes to the shadow aspect of things, a lot of it is going to come from trauma, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So it's because of being able to work with that. Yeah, so it's because of being able to work with that you're able to actively give people that sense of empowerment to get beyond it.
Yeah.
Or being able to release it. And move forward.
Like there's as like, because I would figure, like, if they're coming to you and they're like, you're using the cards that you're talking about, and like I love the last one you were just reading about, because it's like I struggle with validation, and I struggle like sometimes with that. Like sometimes I'm okay with it, I just do something and I'm like happy with it and I press on or whatever. But like when you're talking about like others that need that and they see that, and even like Twitch, I'll use Twitch as a great example, is like Twitch for that. Like sometimes like numbers are validation, sometimes people coming in chat and talking is validation. Like you crave that, you need that, can you live without it, can you not be jealous of other people that are going through all that kind of stuff. So those are that's a huge thing that I see in this whole conversation, is like how you help other streamers and how you help other people to, you know, be satisfied or be happy with what they're doing today versus, you know, compared to others and things.
Exactly. And like kind of going back to the idea of the needing validation, in that reading that I was doing for that person, not only did need validation come up, and this was another person, now that I actually like really think about it, that started to tear up, but again, the moment that I'm like, I can't make this stuff up, but need validation came up, and I was using a different deck, by the way, but there was the seek validation that came up from that deck, but then also there's one that says you are enough on it that came out as well. Yeah. As we're talking through this entire thing, I'm pulling more and more cards. Those two came up and I just laid into it. I that's what I actively do, is I lean into the message, and there is a sense of caring, but also trying to give that sense of empowerment, like in using that for an example, like, you are enough, you have the strength to be able to do the thing. You don't necessarily need the validation to know that you are enough.
Right.
And the biggest thing whenever it comes to that validation portion is because it was caused by someone else, and you push that aside, there's usually a sense of shame that's with it, but there's also a sense of guilt with it too, because of the idea of, I let this person do this to me, or I can't believe I allowed myself to feel this. And that sense of being able to forgive yourself, and also being able to distance yourself from that, and being able to say, like, yeah, that happened, but I know that this person was, I don't know, this person was bad for me or whatever. They were just trying to attack me. I know that their words don't have merit. I can't let their words have merit. I know where my worth actively lies, especially because 9 times out of 10, I would dare say, whenever those things happen, they often have a community that is actively supporting them after the fact, and is actively telling them, hey, that's not true.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's where it's like, okay, you're already seeking the validation, and you're seeing that these people are telling you that you actually, that are staying in your life, that are actually there for you and wanting your best interests or whatever. They're actively telling you that you are good enough, but because this one person ages ago told you that you aren't enough, broke you down, you're deciding to not believe the people that are still there for you, that are actively like wanting to bolster you and empower you and take care of you.
Oh, yeah.
That is not a need for validation. That is a sense of, I am keeping that because I feel ashamed and I can't believe what these other people are telling me, because of the sense of shame that I have within my heart and the guilt that I'm having, like, oh, you're just telling me that, or whatever the case may be. And it's like, no.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. You can forgive yourself. Forgive yourself in those moments, because I look at it whenever, like, especially whenever it comes to childhood, we are kids.
Oh, yeah.
Especially whenever it comes to childhood trauma and that need for validation or seeking validation. Whenever that soul wound occurs, it is because we are kids. We don't know any better. Or we might know better, but because we're looking up to this person and this person has treated us like we're trash, like we're absolutely nothing, we start sinking into that. And it takes forever and a day to actively release those things.
Wow. Yeah.
But there's that sense of forgiveness. People talk about forgiveness and they're like, oh, you forgive the person. And it's like, no. You don't necessarily have to forgive the person, but you forgive yourself for what happened. Because ultimately what ends up happening is you not only blame the other person, but you blame yourself, because you're actively internalizing what they said. You're internalizing what they told you isn't the truth.
Yeah.
So you have to actively fight that inner voice, that outer voice that became your inner voice. You actively have to fight that and basically like forgive yourself. Like, this may have served me in the past, but I let go of this because no, it does not define my reality now. Or in the case of the childhood thing, being able to say, I forgive myself because I know that this isn't who I actively am. That was this other person that was attacking me. That was this horrible person. F those people. Whatever that needs to happen to be able to let that go, to be able to push that aside, but being able to let go of that shame and that grief and that shame and that guilt, and being able to allow yourself to start grieving. Because ultimately, whenever that happens, you're going to start grieving, because that has been a part of you for so long, it became a part of your identity.
Yeah.
And because it became a part of your identity, you're actively erasing or letting go of that part so that you could find happiness on the other side.
Yep.
It reminds me about there's a song by the rapper NF. If anybody has any sort of trauma that they are living with, or self-esteem issues, or whatever the case may be, I highly recommend you listen to this song, because I guarantee you will probably resonate this one part of the chorus. NF actively states in the chorus, I'm afraid, paraphrasing because I can't remember the specific lyrics now, but he actively talks about he is afraid to let go of his trauma because he doesn't know who he would be if he was happy.
Oh, yeah.
Sit with that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
You have allowed yourself to be in pain and in sorrow, in grief for so long that it became a part of your identity and allowed yourself to suffer. And because of that, you now have this fear of letting this part of you go, because it has become such a big part of you. You don't know who you would be on the other side. You don't know who you would be in happiness.
Oh, yeah.
And because that is an unknown, it scares the ever-living shit out of you.
Oh, yeah. This is another reason why we're working on a project in the future, because not just not just this, but like the lyrics and music can like really just like make change your life in that instance. And I really need, after this is over with, I'm gonna have to have you like message me that song, because I'm gonna have to use those lyrics and use that in a future project that we're working on. So I'll pick your brain on that one too. So here's kind of what we want to do. We want to leave something extra for the people that are here live, and entice the folks that are catching this on YouTube later on, if you're interested in being a part of some of these conversations and being part of getting the extra bonus for being here live and the supporting of the channel and all that kind of stuff, and coming around and dropping a follow and being here when we do these every single month. Hit the like button, hit the follow button, go over, follow Anikailani, because when Annie streams, you'll get all this kind of stuff and more as well. So you want to check out Annie's content as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to move into something that Annie had no idea. We do this with every stream. We do a lightning round. We talk about random things that is just out of the blue, nothing like so intense where it's like, you know, whatever. It's just more of like, I want to give you a question. We're going to do it like kind of fast, but yet we're going to go into like explaining of why and things like that. So we're gonna do this, and then we're going to stop recording, and then everybody that's live here, stick around, because we're gonna give you a little bit of an extra bonus. We're gonna talk to you directly. We're going to bring up whatever you want to talk about, just specifically for you and us here. So stick around for that here. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to ask you a few random questions. It's going to be like a this or that, or even just something like maybe like to this spark an answer, and then I want to like kind of deep dive into it just a little bit. So like it's like lightning round, but not really as fast as lightning. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see that stuff. Okay, so
Okay.
a number of things. We've been around each other for a very long time. I've known you for a while, so some of this stuff I may already know the answer, but I've already kind of created it for the folks that might not know. The first question I have with the history of your YouTube channel and things like that, not just the what you've created, not what you've recorded, it could be in the car or whatever, but what is one of your favorite songs to sing, either to yourself or to others or whatever? Oh, and I can't hear him right now. Oh no, did we mute each other? I can't hear you. There it is. Okay. Whew.
There we go.
Okay.
I figured it out. I'm trying to remember what the song was, but there was a song that I did in an accompaniment at my friend after my friend's wedding. God, how did it go? Hold your.
I don't know what just happened, but now you're in sync again. Like you.
Oh, there we go.
Perfect.
All right, so I remember. So the song is "Say You Won't Let Go" by James Arthur.
Is there a particular reason? Is it more of just a message? Is it more of just because you like how the vocals come out? Like, how does that? Why that specific song?
So, I'm kind of a hopeless romantic, not gonna lie. But the song lyrics are so like sweet and almost innocent. I say almost innocent, but he literally talks about like drinking too much and then helping this woman that he met hold her hair back as she's puking. Like, like it's not entirely innocent, but it's so sweet and sincere, and it just has this like it has a lightness to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost also this sort of like storybook romance where he's just like, I knew I loved you then. Like the way that it sounds like the guy met her in a bar or something like that.
Oh, I love it.
But he's like, I met you in the dark, you lit me up, you made me feel as though I was enough. We danced the night away, we drank too much. I held your hair back when you were throwing up. You smiled over your shoulder. For a minute I was stone cold sober. I pulled you closer to my chest and you asked me to stay over. I said, I already told you, I think you should get some rest. That idea that it's like she's actively wanting to get with this guy and he's just like, no, I'm gonna be respectful. You need to take care of yourself. But then he goes on to continue and he's like, I knew I loved you then, but you'd never know because I played it cool when I was scared of letting go.
Oh my God.
Like, it's so like, it's cheesy, but it's sweet and it's endearing. And he goes on further about like daydreaming about him and her like having a life together and growing old together, and it's just,
that's super cool.
it's just really sweet, and I'm able to belt my heart into it, and it's just a lovely song.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that because I like there's sometimes where like you're singing songs like based on the message. Sometimes you're singing songs just because you're having fun with the roller coaster of notes, and you know, like it all depends on that. So that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
All-time favorite TV show. It could be old, could be new, could be what you're watching now, could be something that you go back to. All-time favorite TV show.
Okay. I am split. So God. I'm split because of the fact that there's the show Firefly that I really loved because space cowboys, steampunky and all that.
Yep.
Also Spartacus Blood and Sand.
Love it.
That was definitely a big thing. Like I binge watched through that entire season or the entire show in maybe like 3 days, maybe more. I love the choreography in it. I have a fascination for gladiators, so it was just right up my alley. So I just absolutely loved it. Yeah, those are the big two that come up in my brain right now.
Oh, that's fair.
There's another one, but I can't remember the name of it. But it was like a space show.
No, I totally understand that. I think we've kind of, I kind of understand this answer to this one, but think about it long and hard because I had to like somebody asked me this and I reserved it just for you. It's rather help others or others help you. it's interesting because you want to help others, but like, can you ask for help, and can others help you as well? Like, what would you rather have? I know. I would come up with good ones, man. I
Asking the hard questions here.
Yeah, I start with the hard ones, and then the rest of them get a little bit easier.
As I sit here and scraping the wax off of my forehead,
Which is funny because that was how I was going to end this, like how we were going to take that off. But I'll ask that later on. We'll focus on the question first.
Honestly, I would say my answer would be help others. Helping others makes me feel good. It gives me massive dopamine, and ironically, like, some people would say that I am avoiding my problems whenever I'm constantly trying to help others.
Fair enough.
Screw you to those people. How dare you call me out?
Don't you dare tell me what I'd like the truth.
Right. But part of it is a very weird scenario, because by helping others, I'm also helping myself. Because more often than not, whenever I'm helping other people with their problems, usually it's something that I'm able to like do some sort of weird parallel with something I'm dealing with. So by helping them, I end up getting one, it just makes me feel good because now I'm like, all right, they're no longer suffering, or they're not dealing with whatever it is. But then I get some sort of moment of clarity for my own thing. So then I'm like, oh, okay, now I know how to deal with the thing that I'm dealing with. But also there's that weird sense of like, all right, now I know how to deal with my stuff. Am I actually going to do it though?
Yeah. I think when I was first asked this question, this reason why I brought it up to you, because with everything we're talking about, is like, the majority of people have trouble asking others for help. And once you learn how to ask for help, that sometimes is still even hard to do. But in retrospect, thinking about this is like, okay, as I'm helping others, in reality, like you said, is helping yourself. So in turn, you're kind of doing both in one. And if someone's just helping you, is it enough just for that? And like, I'm more of like a giver than a taker. So like in that kind of instance, I totally get that. Okay, so some are easier ones. In normal instance, do you cling to a drama or a comedy?
Comedy.
And because of the situation you're in, or just because you just need more laugh versus being more in depth in the story? Because more than likely the drama stories are more in depth than a comedy, but is like what makes one be attractive more than the other?
Honestly, like, it really depends on mood. For me, whenever it comes to that, because like, again, like you said, like the dramas, you get hooked into a lot for the story. Comedies can often be more at face value, so it's really for all, like, for the laughs and stuff. I think it's because of the laughter, or like the need, or not even need, but like the want to be pepped up, that I go for comedies. Because even if I'm not laughing out loud, there's usually at least some sort of parts in it that I find funny enough that I have that medicine, because they talk about laughter being one of the best medicines, and it really is. I
agree. And we're talking about Deadpool earlier, and like, I haven't seen it yet. And for everybody that's watching this on YouTube, I'll see it by the time you see it on YouTube, because I'm going to see it. Technically, it's after midnight, so I'm going to see it today. So I will understand that. So like in that concept, but I prefer more of a comedy than drama. But when I go back to like favorite TV shows and stuff like that, it's like I'm more clinging to comedy and TV shows and more drama and movies, which is really weird to have that distinction on what you go see and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I can honestly see it though.
Like, it's more of like, I can deal with a half hour of comedy and then like kind of do whatever versus sitting there in theater and watching like 2.5 hours and then walking out and your fucking stomach hurts and you're laughing so hard and you're I need to walk to the car but my freaking chest hurts so much. I'm like, it might be a lot of that. I mean, who knows? I just,
Right.
It's self-analyze, like make up shit. I don't know if I can know. On a normal day's basis, energy drink or coffee?
Normally, I would say neither. I'd go for tea.
Oh, see?
but coffee probably.
Yeah. Texting or calling?
Definitely texting.
Is there a reason? Is there more of a reason or what? I could give you my reason, but go ahead, do yours first because I like.
It feels a little less demanding to do a text versus a call. Like I tell people all the time, especially whenever I reach out to people or they're trying to reach out to me, I'm like, I may not answer immediately, but I'll always get back to you at some point. That's just how I am.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the fact that it can be a little bit of that delay unless it's like an emergency or something. If somebody's calling me, usually I'm like, okay, it's an emergency and
Yeah, exactly.
I'll deal with it. But yeah, it's like sometimes I really don't have the energy or capacity to be on a call. So that's why I just lean with texting all the time. And like depending on the person, I might be able to still do like a voice chat or something, or if I'm trying to say something and it's super long and I'm just like, I'm too lazy to fucking type it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, texting.
Yeah. I lean more on texting as well. The only difference is like sometimes I need to hear a voice or I need to hear more of just like reading words. I need to hear like you're going back to, the card that you pulled. Sometimes you just need to have that person's voice to say, hey, you're doing a good job. And when you read it, it's one thing. It's like, oh man, thanks, I appreciate it. But when you hear it, it could like make a huge difference. So it all depends on the situation for me. Yeah, I text 90% way more than calling for sure. But then that 10% is like, give it to me kind of thing.
Right, exactly. But yeah, like hearing it definitely hits harder. But then also like I'm autistic, so it's hard for me to sometimes infer detail from texts. So I like hearing, like, especially whenever it comes to certain messages, I like actually hearing it, because then at least then I'm able to hear the inflection in somebody's voice. I'm able to hear their tone, like to see whether like what exactly the tone for the message would have been.
Like, if it's a joke, if it's like stern, like all that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like some people I'm able to figure that out through their text because I just know them really well. But most often it's like, okay, yeah, like if you want to talk about certain things, do it on voice, because then I understand. So.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to like laugh at with this one, and what I usually do when I pull out these questions, I do it and then I research them, like what is the normal average of the answer and why do they give you the answers and stuff like that. One of them, and I loved, is like, I have more of I would say more kahunas to text something in a text than I am to be able to say it out loud. Like I can, like, even like in Twitch, you can say, man, you looking good tonight, but yet those words can't come out of your mouth. Like it's easy to text or whatever. So it's like, it's always funny how easier it is just to like type up the words versus it is to say it out loud, kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Dark chocolate or white chocolate?
I'd say probably. I don't know. It's hard God, that's a hard one because like I like white chocolate, but white chocolate isn't actually a thing.
I know it really isn't, but I mean, like technically, I don't like dark chocolate at all. Like if I'm doing s'mores, I'm buying white chocolate, or like I'm buying like the cookies and cream to put them in. But like
or like milk chocolate, like that's what I would go for. Like dark chocolate is okay in short bursts.
Like little like
because
Hershey
of how
Kisses,
bitter.
dark chocolate kind of thing, and that's it.
Yeah, because of the bitterness of it, which again is like supposed to be more natural and better for you and all this other stuff. White chocolate, again, it's nice, but it's really just vanilla.
Fair enough.
Like I don't know why they decided to call it white chocolate, but it's just like, y'all just call a spade a spade. It's freaking vanilla.
Yeah,
it's a vanilla kiss.
It's vanilla cream candy. Would it still be considered cream vanilla chocolate? I don't know. I guess. Yeah.
Right. I don't know. Like at that point, like literally, it's just like you might have a little bit of milk chocolate or a little bit of cacao in it, but it's just like it's being dwarfed by the vanilla.
Yeah, exactly.
So, God, if I had to choose, I would choose white chocolate.
Oh yeah, me too. Okay, and the last one. This one kind of can get in depth a little bit. And I get in this discussion all the fucking time, especially with friends and family and stuff like that. Do you read food labels or buy based on the photo? I know, right? Like, can you walk into a store and see something that, man, that looks fucking phenomenal, I want to buy it, you just buy it? Or do you go, I need to see what's in it, and like even if it looks so fucking good, I read the label and go, I can't eat that, and then walk away? Like, can you look past the label?
For the most part, I'm more of a buy on site type of person. I'm definitely like more of a like, I see it on site, it looks okay, and then I'll probably take it. It's very rare that I'll actually like read the label.
That's fair.
Beyond like specific things, and usually it's like, I don't know, hot sauce for example, or something. Like I'm looking at it going like, hey, I'll look at it and kind of go like, okay, what type of pepper is in this hot sauce or whatever. The other thing is, if I'm actively like entertaining someone, then I will probably read like labels. Like my partner, for example, has quite a few dietary restrictions, so I'll have to actively look at certain things to make sure that it doesn't have like a certain type of flour in it that they can't eat, or it can't have this type of ingredient in it, and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah. I'm hit and miss on some of that stuff. Like I will I'll read the labels on a lot of things, but then, you know, I still, because my wife's a chiropractor and she's very into the healthier stuff and things like that. And if I bring home like Doritos, I get my ass ripped a couple times. I still am able to eat them, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to get to talk on, you know, what's in them and all that kind of stuff, whatever. But no, that one I love, because we could talk about that one for a while, because, you know, what's in food, all that kind of stuff. But here's what I'm going to do. I just want to take a quick second and say thank you, everybody. For everybody that's here, we're not leaving anywhere. We're going to give you a little special something. But before we stop the recording for YouTube and be able to release this in September, where can we find you? Where can we see your content? Is there a Discord? Is there, like, how are you bringing this a culture of empowerment classes? Like, how do you, like, what's your future on all that kind of stuff, and how do we find your content?
There is a couple of things. I have a Facebook that has my website on it for my mystical stuff, so like oracle, tarot readings. I'm gonna start trying to put some of the spiritual retreat stuff on there as well. I do still have my Twitch, so that you can follow me there. Be able to click that the bell so that you get notifications whenever I do go live. I'm gonna try to start being a little bit more active on my Discord. I do have a Discord, just haven't been very active on it as of late because of all the stuff I've been working on. So I'm gonna try to do that. And I mean, YouTube is there. I don't really have a lot of stuff on my YouTube though. But I might actually start posting some more stuff on my TikTok. Dependent though, I really need to just. This is one of those moments where like I talk to my partner about it, and I'm like, I just need to have a camera on me whenever I say some of the shit that I say.
Yeah.
Because I'll say like earlier, I'll say the most prolific freaking thing, and then 10 seconds later, somebody will bring it up, and I'm like, wait, I said that? What?
Yeah. How do you say that? Well, the good thing is like this
So-
one will be recorded, so we can go back and find that phrase, and you can write it down. You'll be good.
Right, exactly.
Welcome in, Rogue and Crimson. Thank you so much, by the way. Again, we're not going anywhere, but for the YouTube channel, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Don't forget to drop Annie a follow. We're gonna grab all this information that we talked about, the links to the social medias and all that kind of stuff, and I'll put it down in the description below. You want to follow Annie? Annie's freaking awesome as shit. Go to the channel when Annie's live, and you get to pull the cards, because I correct me if I'm wrong, you do have like a channel points where you pull the card and kind of talk about that kind of stuff, or if I'm remembering correctly, right?
I do have that redeemed.
So you definitely want to hang out, earn those enough channel points, and be able to redeem that, because it's not only a great conversation, but and he does it for you live on stream, so you can get all that kind of stuff. So that thank you so much. I appreciate it. YouTube, check out the next video. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it. Bye bye.